If you're not getting the results you were hoping for from your content marketing strategy, you're going to want to pay careful attention here. Because content marketing is one of the most effective marketing strategies available to you today, but it also comes with some challenges, as well as a set of unspoken rules that few people know about, and will help explain the real reasons why your content just isn't working. So let's fix that now. If you've ever read a blog post or listened to a podcast or watched a video on content marketing, then I'm sure you've come across the age-old advice to just publish high-quality content on a consistent basis. This is practically content marketing gospel at this point. Now, most people intuitively understand the high-quality part, even if quality is a little bit subjective, and what's good for one may not be good for another market or industry or niche or business. But we can all appreciate that higher quality content is probably going to do better than lower quality content. But what seems to be up for debate, and where the biggest objections lie, is in the consistency part. Or in other words, just how much content do you really need to create in order to get traction? Well, the truth is, in today's hyper-competitive market, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but more is probably better. This means if your content production strategy is currently to put out, say, one video a month, try to make that one video a week. If you're sending out a weekly email newsletter to your list, try 3 times a week, maybe 4. Maybe 5. And if you're putting out, say, Instagram content daily, well, could you do twice a day or 3 times a day? Include some stories? You see, it's competitive out there, my friend. So the key is to do your best and to do it as often as you can, without going crazy in the process. That's the game. That's the fun. Another one of the reasons why most content simply fails to work is that it's selfish content. Selfish content really just means creating the kind of content that you want to create rather than the kind of content your market wants you to create. Yes, it is important to create content that you enjoy and you find interesting and entertaining. Otherwise, it'll come off as dry or bland or boring, or you'll just quit altogether. But this has to be weighted against the customer's needs, because it's the market that decides on the value and on the true worth of the content you're creating. And the market is always right. There are 2 reasons, though, that you really want to avoid selfish content. The first of which is that it completely misses the mark in even getting found or even getting discovered in the first place. Because if nobody's looking for it and nobody really wants it, nobody's gonna see it. The second point is that if they do find it, well, it'll miss the mark in terms of delivery, because it's not created with the customer, with the prospect, with the audience in mind. It fails to answer the question, what's in it for me? The solution to all of this is fortunately really easy, and it really just comes down to asking yourself at every stage of the content creation process, is this something my customer would actually want to see? Or read, or hear, or watch, or consume. Now, this was a trap I fell into very early in my career, to my own dismay. I was seduced by the appeal of trying to do really cool things and share them and then build my business that way. Oh, young naive Adam, you silly, silly man. Turns out taking pictures of your food for Instagram or posting endless vacation pics on Facebook or vlogging about your daily life and posting that on YouTube aren't actually that great a way to build your business. And in fact, they may actually hurt it, especially if this is not the kind of content that your audience signed up for in the first place. You see, one of the hardest pills for me to swallow back then was how little people truly cared about me. That sounds horribly pessimistic, I totally appreciate, but it's actually quite freeing and quite liberating, because it allowed my content to be less about me and my story and my needs and my desire to share, and more about my market and their needs and their problems and their pains and things that I could actually help them with. The question started to become, what could I create that would help them? What would they want to see or hear or watch? What could I create that would add real, genuine value to their lives? When you start creating content with this mindset, magic happens. Probably unsurprising that when I made this shift, well, my business grew, my audience grew, and my content started to resonate and get far better engagement and reactions with my market, because it wasn't about me, it was about them. It was about you. All right, the next reason that your content may be failing to really hit the mark is that it's going too broad and failing to really focus and get targeted and niche down on the specific problem and the specific market that you're trying to address. Here's the deal. When you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. Going too broad forces you to naturally water down your message to be more inclusive. This in turn makes it more bland, more boring, more ignorable. It also forces you to rely and to create gross generalizations, which again, simply aren't relevant or relatable to the vast majority of people. They've heard it all before, and they've seen it all before, and They're tired of it. Now, mass marketing and brand advertising. Well, this works for billion-dollar corporations with massive multi-million-dollar budgets that can afford to spend on this type of marketing. But for the vast majority, this is a recipe for disaster. There's another benefit as well, though, in really narrowing down and really focusing and being concentrated and strategic with your content, and that is taking advantage of something called the long tail. In the context of content marketing, the long tail are simply those ideas or topics or keywords that are a lot more targeted and a lot more specific, allowing you to capture those smaller pockets of the audience that are searching for those exact things. For example, a broad topic I could create could be something like marketing. I could narrow this down a little bit more by saying digital marketing. I could narrow this down even more and really take advantage of the long tail by saying digital marketing strategies for entrepreneurs. And well, let's take it one step further and say digital marketing strategies for online entrepreneurs trying to build online businesses. You see, when I get more specific and more focused like that, it allows me to really dial in on the exact pains and problems and needs and desires of that target market, rather than having to go massively broad and talk about marketing in general, which is huge and would probably lead to a 300-hour-long video. All right, the next reason your content is failing to get the results you desire is because you're simply not promoting it enough. Build it and they will come is garbage advice. There, I said it. The better advice is to build it and then tell everyone you know and tell them again. And again, because people are busy and they got a lot of stuff going on. The world is full of great products and great services and great businesses that died a slow and painful death because they failed to understand that having a great business isn't enough. You also need great marketing. I'd even go so far as to say if you created something that actually helps people and really provides value, well, by not doing marketing, you're actually providing them a huge disservice because you have a solution to a problem that they're going through and you're not sharing it with them. That's not nice. This is why it's your duty, your obligation to promote your content and promote your business so you can help more people. Spread your message, make a bigger impact, and get paid very well along the way. So create, then promote, then get back to creating again, and then promote that too. All right, this next mistake was a trap I also fell into early in my content career, and that was creating content just for content's sake. Basically, you're creating content and doing content marketing just because someone told you you need to do content marketing. What this ends up looking like is cranking out blog posts, recording podcasts, maybe thinking about starting a YouTube channel, but having no idea what you're going to talk about or why you're even doing it in the first place. This, naturally, is a giant waste of time, and it leads to unfocused and random acts of content. Creating, just throwing it out there and hoping it works. Probably unsurprisingly, hope is a terrible marketing strategy. In order for content to work, it needs to be strategic. Ask yourself, why are you making this? What's the goal? How will you measure whether this piece of content was successful or not? And the best way to make sure you've got all of this dialed in is to make sure your content is aligned. So on that topic, the next mistake and the next reason your content may not be working is that your content isn't aligned. So let me explain what that means. Content alignment is really just fancy talk for doing the right things in the right place for the right people. Your market is the right people. Your message is the right things. And the media is the right place. So let's quickly break down each one of these now because this stuff's important. Every single successful content marketing strategy starts with an almost maniacal focus on the ideal target market that you're trying to serve. This is because getting 1 million people to pay attention to your stuff really doesn't matter if they're not the right people and are unlikely to buy your stuff. And yet I see this every single day. And it hurts, because I know you can do better. Business owners and entrepreneurs failing to properly identify and then locate their ideal target market, and then wondering why their content just isn't striking a chord, isn't resonating, isn't increasing engagement, isn't resulting in sales. This is why step one is always to really clearly identify your ideal target market. Their demographic details like age, gender, income, occupation, their geographic details like what city or state or province or country they live in, and their psychographic details like their attitudes and their values and their interests and their beliefs. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is message. Once you've got your ideal target market identified, well, it's time to start peeling back the layers and identifying what I call their miracles and their miseries. Their miracles being their dreams and their goals and their desires and their aspirations, and their miseries being their pains and their problems and their fears and their frustrations. Now, of course, the devil's in the details, but if you're just getting started, really just going through this exercise and identifying what their main pains and their main problems are will already put you ahead of 99% of your competition who is failing to do this step. This crucial crucial step. Once you have these answers, it's time to move on to the next point, which is media. It's here in the media section of this video that I want to address perhaps one of the biggest myths that I'm seeing right now in the marketing world, and that is this myth that you need to be everywhere and do everything. By that I mean creating tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of pieces of content every single day and being on every single different social media platform, posting and managing and having conversations and really just exhausting yourself. Not only is this a completely unrealistic and overwhelming strategy for the vast majority of entrepreneurs and businesses out there, it's also incredibly ineffective. This is because once you've identified your ideal target market and found where they're present and active online, well, you'll naturally come to the conclusion that they're not everywhere and they're not doing everything. Rather, they're focused on 1, 2, maybe 3 different channels and spending the vast majority of their time there. So, go there and ignore everything else. This is going to save you a ton of time, a ton of money, and a ton of energy, and really save yourself the frustration of wondering why your content isn't working. Nobody ever made a plan to create marketing that nobody sees, nobody likes, and loses you a ton of money in the process. Those things are what happen when you don't have a plan. This is why the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here on how to create a marketing plan. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the next episode. For example, if you're trying to reach a market between 18 and 24 or 25 and 34, well then this age range tends to favor Instagram, and even younger starting to favor TikTok, although it's aging up quickly. If you're looking for a group over the age of 35, well then obviously you're going to want to take a look at Facebook.